Hey guys, we're live. I'm Trixie, aka the Thoughtful Beast, and I am here with Rich.
Bam! What's up? Thank you for having me on.
And I just want to make clear that I'm having Rich, not Rich Exotic.
But I do have my quarantine mustache. You like that? I think I'm gonna grow it out until the end of this quarantine. Let's see how far I can get it.
Why not? Part of me wants to cut off my hair to here and see if I can grow it back down by the time we get out of quarantine.
May 15th? Wow. It's gonna be tough.
Well, let's see if it is May 15th. Even with like a month, I'll be able to grow like a good inch back. My hair goes like hella fast. Okay, anyways, let's have Rich introduce himself. Ready? And
yo, my name is Rich, aka of course Rich, aka Rich Bernard, aka Rich Exotic. You can find me on Instagram at AKOSIR1TH and Rich Bernard on YouTube. I'm a content creator as well as the muscle of the.
Wait, pause. I'm gonna have you do that again. For some reason, you sound muffled. Can you actually take a step back from your mic a little bit?
Really? Is that better?
Yeah, that's actually better.
Whoa.
Ready? And go again, because that was really weird and you sound. I was like, what's happening? Ready?
Okay. What's up, everybody? My name is Rich, aka Akosi Rich, aka Rich Bernard, aka Rich Exotic. You can find me on Instagram, AKOSIR1CH, and also on Facebook. YouTube as Rich Bernard. I am, content creator, YouTuber. I'm basically the muscle of the SD Vlog Squad. That's it. Hey, Marissa, how's it going?
You are the muscle?
I'm the muscle. I'm the enforcer.
What exactly are you enforcing?
Well, I'm like the protector. I'm like, I get around and I'm like, you listen.
Okay.
If we ever were in any trouble, if we were out drinking or whatever,
you're our father.
I'm the police.
Okay, father. I guess that's what's happening. So Rich, I asked Rich to come here today to talk about men's mental health. Wow. It's definitely gonna be interesting. Rich, do you mind telling them about when you first met me? Which we talked about on his podcast when I was on your channel a couple weeks ago. But please share this story that I think is hilarious.
Okay, so so basically I've always had problems with mental health, and a lot of it's just being the average male, you kind of suppress it. You suppress a lot of it. You kind of push it aside because there's a sense of weakness or whatever. But in any case, one Wednesday, it was Trixie's first time at Picture Flick Studios for SD, the YouTuber group. So, generally we have this round table where we go around, we introduce ourselves and, what we do, what our channel's about. And it got to me and I went, okay. And my friend Jeff was next to me and then he did his thing. And then up came Trixie. And I don't really remember much of what Trixie said, but all I remember was, my name is Trixie. I have a mental problem or mental health issue. I have PTSD. I have this. And I seriously just blacked out. Like I basically shut it off and I walked out. And, nobody noticed that I walked out and except for one friend. And he was like, bro, that's kind of weird. That's kind of rude that you just walk out when people are introducing themselves or you're not paying attention, and I was like, I cannot be around that girl. It's just because I just, sometimes it just wasn't it, I still had that a little bit of myself to kind of, I still had a tendency to push a lot of things aside.
And I made that impossible.
Yeah, because men's mental health is basically the elephant in the room, right? It is. It's super hard for men to always talk about mental health, and it stems from generations of you always being told that you are gonna end up being the man of the house, right? The king of the jungle is not the lioness, it's the lion, right? And when you're the man of the house or you're the king of the jungle, you can never be weak. You can never show any signs of weakness. And that's where years and years of suppression happens when it comes to men, is that we cannot be weak. It's so simple that nowadays there's avenues where you can talk to somebody, but back in the day there wasn't. There wasn't. Boys don't cry. The Cure says it. Yeah, boys don't. And it's ingrained. You might not think that means something, but it's ingrained in your head. Boys do not cry. And what that tells you is boys are not weak. It's the same way that, back in the day, if you cry or you're weak or you show any signs of weakness, you're gay.
Yeah.
So you don't ever want to be that. You just want to ball it up, throw it away, hide it, and let anybody know. And it slowly eats you up inside, little by little, until you explode.
And there's nothing.
Nothing.
So I would like to ask you if you can get as personal as you like or not like, but I want to ask you, like, are there any times that you can remember specifically, like, growing up where, like, your father would say anything like that to you, or like maybe your grandparents, or was it more like this is just how it was, like on TV, this is like what all the TV and TV shows and movies like said, and that's how you got it, or friends?
A lot of it's not necessarily anything. Well, it's what they said, but it's not an initial impact. It doesn't impact you initially because you're so young. You're still so many things are going on in your life, but it's that pressure, right? Like there's always that joke or that stereotype that Filipino families want you to be the doctor. Wants you to be the lawyer, wants you to be the nurse, wants you to make a lot of money. Basically, any job that they deem is, that they can brag to their friends that makes a lot of money, that's what you're going to be. Mm-hmm. And if you don't get there, you're a failure. You can't really sometimes voice that out to your parents that I feel like a failure, but it's that pressure. It's that pressure that creates that anxiety, and it creates those mental issues in your head. You know what I mean? Because all that, even though it's not your typical quote unquote trauma that people describe it as, like medical trauma, it's traumatic in your head, and it stays there until you're able to actually release it and understand that it isn't you. You're trying to live their life. While you should actually be living your life.
Yeah, living up to those expectations is just like, I don't know. For me, it always felt like really impossible. Like, obviously, not as a man, but as as a Filipino. I remember when I was young, I wrote that I wanted to be a lawyer. Like, for this, I don't know. Your school gives you stuff. It's like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I wrote lawyer. And if I think about that now, I'm like, that's stupid because I don't like arguing. And I definitely don't like talking in front of big groups in public like that. And I'm just like, why did I write this? And it's like, oh, it's because I knew I didn't want to be a doctor or nurse because, my mom's a nurse. So I was like, what is the next acceptable thing? Lawyer. And but that stuff sticks with you because it's like when it changes from that, when you realize you don't want to be those things, you always feel like a failure. Yeah. And then, you don't talk about it. At least my family, we never talked about our emotions. Yeah. Because that's not okay. Unless someone died. That's the only time. It has to be specifically about the person dying and grieving. And then we can all be sad. Mm-hmm. For 40 days and 40 nights, and then it's over.
That's 7 days. But the thing is, it's different with women or girls, right? It's because sometimes you have girlfriends that you can actually cry to. For guys, I'm not gonna call my friend out and bawl my eyes out and tell him I'm so frustrated. That's why most of the time, the only time you ever see somebody cry out of frustration when it comes to guys when you're growing up is when they were in a fight.
Oh, that's true.
It's because they just don't go up and I feel I'm so frustrated right now. I need to get in my room and cry. Because once somebody sees that, your mom's gonna go, oh, what are you doing crying? Ano ka, babae? Like, what are you, a girl? So that, again, it's that weakness. That's why when it comes to anything mental health with men, it's so hard for us to just go, hey, I need to go step away and fucking cry my eyes out. Put myself in a room, cry my eyes out, scream, yell, stomp, grab your pillow, punch it, and that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
It's perfectly fine.
It has to go somewhere. Like, the worst you could do is just like mentally push it down and then go on like nothing's happening, because I'm like, it's gonna mentally push back up, like, and you're either gonna hurt yourself or you're gonna hurt someone else.
Yeah, and
like,
and
whether
that's
it's physical or mental.
And that trickles down to your family after, right? Like, just think about generations. Like, mental health, like, okay, mental health is a little bit more not necessarily accepted, but it's more worldwide.
People are more aware of it.
Yes,
it is not like a thing. It's a thing now that are like, oh, all right.
It's a thing primarily because of the wars. Like, if we weren't in war, if we didn't go through, Operation Iraqi Freedom, Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan, we probably would still never hear about mental health issues. But but because all our service members came back in the world of the internet, in the world of TV, in the world of it, they're coming back with PTSD. And you could link exactly how people start to find out about post-traumatic stress disorder. It relates directly to the stories and about how we currently have 22 service members per day commit suicide. That's 22 a day.
That's very high.
That's very high, and it's linked to PTSD. But what a lot of people don't know is that PTSD stands for post-traumatic stress disorder, which anybody can have, and it's perfectly natural. But people think that PTSD only happens to service members.
Yeah,
I tell people it's post-traumatic stress. It's not post-service member stress.
Yeah.
The S is stress. It doesn't link to anybody.
No, it doesn't link to anybody. And like, that's such a misconception that people had. Because I've had people who be like, you don't have PTSD. Like, you're too young to have been in the military. I'm like,
yeah.
I wasn't in the military. Like, I am really young, and I'm also obviously not in the military. Like, yeah, no, like, you can just have it from any sort of like traumatic stress.
Yeah.
Like, because it's traumatic stress. Yeah. Traumatic, like, like if someone stabs you, like randomly, like, like if you're attacked randomly on the street, yeah, that's traumatic stress. Or if like you see, or if you're like bullied, if you're bullied for like a long period of time at school, that is traumatic stress. That is trauma.
Yeah. So next time somebody tells you, oh, you're too young to be in the military, you go, listen, have you ever lived with my mom? She is like an she is like an IED, okay? She'll go off at any time. And that's where my trauma comes from. my traumatic stress comes from. That's what he was gonna say.
Yeah. And I mean, like, trauma is such, okay, I don't want to get super into trauma and stay stuck there forever, because I can get stuck there forever. So I'm gonna start it with that. But I think that's actually something that people like don't realize too, like what trauma is exactly. And that, like, yeah, you can get trauma from like your childhood and like the way that you were treated by your family. And if anything, that's like a really, really big one, especially because like expectations from your family is that your family loves you, they're going to take care of you. And when that becomes, when other things are involved, like if there's like abuse, if there's like neglect and stuff like that, it gets really like fucked up for your brain. Because it's just like, wait, they're like supposed to like help me, like they're supposed to be the ones I trust and stuff. And so like also a lot of people will put up with the trauma, or they'll think the trauma is their fault, because they're like, well, that's my family. Like, I must be doing something wrong. Like, it must be me. And then you don't say anything, and you just keep taking it.
Yeah. But sometimes there also has to be a way for you to kind of like open up your eyes and look at it from a global point of view too, right? Because when I said that sometimes the mental health and hiding the trauma and hiding the stress and the anxiety and all that build up, it's more men do it because they don't want to seem weak, right? So sometimes you have like as a kid, I would always say, like, my dad would just be harping on me, and I would say in my head, I'm thinking, well, what he's doing to me is quote unquote abuse or traumatic, but realistically, it's just he doesn't necessarily know how to translate the stress that he has or the anxiety that he has because of what I'm doing. Right. So when I was just sitting around at home and I wasn't looking for a job and I was already damn near 22 years old, right? And all I did was, I don't know if you listen to my podcast, all I did was all day and night drink with my friends. I couldn't tell you that my dad's being a dick and everything he was doing was traumatic. It's just that he also has this anxiety and this stress level, knowing that his 22-year-old son ain't doing shit but drinking on the couch. Right. So that's also a lot and he's not pre-programmed, and men are not pre-programmed to just go out and dump their feelings like son, I worry about you. I have sleepless nights because I'm just so worried about where you're gonna be. You know what I mean? Because they're raised to keep all that inside.
Yeah.
Like, so for me, I had to really, like, at some point I had to step back and go, well, it's a shitty situation, but it's not like I'm doing anything to help it. I can't use the quote unquote mental health aspect as a crutch and say, oh, my life is so horrible because this part of my world right here, this little box it's so demanding. Well, what have I done myself to fix that?
Yes. I super want to go into that, but before we do that, I want to go back a little bit to talk about how, like, you're right, like, where there, like, back then there was nothing, right? Like, you come home, like, there's nothing, like, you're being raised as a guy and you have nowhere to put your feelings. There's nowhere to put your feelings. There's nowhere to find out, like, how to deal with your feelings. But now there's the internet, which, and so, like, I feel like has helped change things because it's just like people can Google shit now. I feel like Google is like the best thing for that. Like, or like the fact that people can like connect anonymously, right? Like on different forums, and they can let it out to these strangers and like actually find support.
Yeah.
Like, and I feel like that's been a big thing that's like changed. Like, just like the internet being like a thing, like for information and to be able to create like some sort of connections with others who also can't like express what the hell is happening, or like can't even like process what's happening. And so I feel like that's been a cool change to happen, like that has happened. And I'm wondering, like, because you were there before like the internet got big, and now like it's big.
Wow.
I'm sorry, but like,
no, I get it. No.
So like, I really I want to know your perspective on that. Like, do you actually think it has helped a lot? Like, do you see like a difference?
I think it's helped in a way where it's allowed people that might not necessarily, especially men, that might not necessarily be ready to express themselves until they're ready. But no matter how many YouTube channels that you watch, you're still gonna need physical help, like from outside the internet. Yes. Like, it's great because I can watch a stream, or I can watch a video and go, damn, I'm not the only one. Like, I'm not the only guy that feels this way. You sometimes you'll watch streams from or videos from guys that are in the military or former military, Navy SEALs, and they're talking about that. And if a Navy SEAL can talk about it, obviously that guy is not weak.
Yeah, like
right?
The Navy SEALs are like the epitome of like strong man, but like not in a bad, like it just is. It's just like, yeah, dude, like that guy's elite.
Like mentally strong, right?
Strong, like it's all around strength.
So if he has those issues and I do too, then that doesn't make me a lesser person. Mm-hmm. The way I look. But at the end of the day, you can only watch videos so much. You kind of have to reach out and get, actually get a therapist if you really need it, and get outside help. Mm-hmm. Because the internet's not always with you. I mean, it's a lot different when you're talking to somebody face to face than it would be watching a video. Because sometimes there's distractions here and there. You're trying to multitask. You're trying to do your homework while trying to listen about mental health. It just doesn't work.
No, and I mean like the fact that like when we can watch TV and we can watch YouTube and like digest all these different like platforms on like through the internet, it's fucking great. Especially now, obviously, like is wonderful. But it is very different. Like when you are in a room with someone and it's like this, like it's just you two. Like it's very obvious, you know, like if you just start looking away, like, and like even if you want to look away, like there's automatically like a social pressure to be like, hey dude, like I'm in this room with you, like we're talking.
Yeah. But then there's also a response back. There's a back and forth. When you're watching a video, watching a video is more like, oh, I'm not the only one that feels that way. I'm not the only one that has gone through it. And then you can get like advice on how you move forward. But then again, you still physically have to move forward.
Yeah. So going back to that, so I actually really wanted to bring you on because even though sometimes I don't necessarily agree with how you phrase things, but we still kind of have like the same belief where it's just like, I do believe that, like mental health issues, like they're a real problem, obviously, like I have them, but there has to be some sort of responsibility taken, and that's really important for me to like discuss a lot, because I feel like on social media and different platforms that talk about mental illness and stuff, like it's great, like the whole like thing, like like relate, like hashtag relatable stuff, like I get like, like dude, like I just spent the whole day in bed, like don't feel bad about that, like I totally get it, like that's great, like tweets like that or whatever post to share, like you're not alone is great. But sometimes I feel like it does stop there, that we don't talk about like, how are we going to get out of this? Like, how are we going to like actually move forward? Because the thing is just like, like when you have a mental illness, when you have depression, it's hard. It's hard to want to do anything. Like, that's like why mental illness is so tricky, because it's like, you don't have any motivation, you don't have any energy. But at the end of the day, like no one's going to pull you out of it. And even if someone tries to pull you out of it, like you don't have to do anything. Like you don't have to do anything. Like someone could try to pull you out of it. Like, someone could shove you into a room with a therapist. They can't make you talk though.
Yeah. You're basically dead weight.
Yeah. Like, and so like, I definitely think taking responsibility for your own mental health is so important. And like, again, like I am definitely about like validating like your feelings, like validating feelings and being like, this really does suck. Cause sometimes, people are at the point where like, they just need to get it out. But then at some point, like we need to move past that, because if not, then you just become like, like say if I'm talking with you like every day and it's been like a long time and I just keep saying the same thing over and over, Rich, like, oh my God, like my life is so shitty. Like I'm nowhere where I want to be. And I'm just like, I can't get a job or whatever. And you're like, well, did you apply for a job? Like, no, like I'm freaking out. Like, but if I do the same thing every single day, then I'm just like dumping on you. You know what I mean? Like I'm just dumping on you. Like I don't want your advice, or maybe you give me advice and I just kind of ignore it. And I'm just like, like there's the dumping is like when you vent so much like into like a place where it's like, dude, this is not even functional. Like you're just saying shit to say shit. Like this isn't venting anymore because you're not even going to move past it. Like I'm just going to say the same thing over and over and complaining about the same thing over and over. And then like, but what? Now I'm just taking your energy. Like I'm not doing anything like for myself. And then like now it's an issue. And again, yes, mental illness is tricky, but at some point you have to start doing something for yourself.
Right. I mean, it's definitely a slippery slope, right? But I think sometimes when you talk to friends and you there seems to like whenever you have whenever these guys have problems, and especially like my military friends, there's always an excuse as to why they couldn't move forward. Like at that point, you know, as you said, you're just dumping. But if I'm giving you advice, and then every time I give you advice, you say, but da 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 da. It's like, then why are you? You know, there's only so much that I can do.
Yeah, yeah. Especially it's just like, you know, because there is a thing where it's just like, well, maybe they want to just vent, which is fine. But if they ask for advice, or again, if they keep saying the same thing to you over and over, like that's very unfair for you. Like, you know, like you're a person, you're not like, and you're not a therapist. It's like, honestly, like if you want something to just dump on and have like a one-way like relationship with, or a super one-way conversation, honestly, that's where a therapist comes in, because at least they're built to handle that. Because when someone like, you know, like you get burnt out too, like being someone's support system, like you get burnt out. And like, that doesn't mean, you know, like, and I understand that like plays on the fears of people with mental illness being like, I don't want to be a burden. And it's just like, it's different. Like you reaching out and asking for help, that's not being a burden. You dumping everything over and over the same way and not trying to change it and still wanting to continue to complain about the same thing every time to someone, to one person, like that's unfair.
Yeah. But let me ask you this though.
All right.
When
yes.
When is, let me see. Let me try to phrase it properly, because I don't want to necessarily want to like say it wrong. Yeah. How when is your mental illness just something you searched online or you found online? Because there's some people that would continuously, through whatever reason, put themselves in these difficult situations, and then all of a sudden they just happen to come across this article talking about how these are the signs of this whatever mental illness, and then it's automatically them, because now it's become their excuse, their crutch. Like you, like, listen, you're a bum, you don't do shit but smoke pot and drink at your parents' house, but yet now you're saying you have PTSD, because you're just going to use that as a way so that to justify the fact that you just lazy.
Okay, so this is how I feel about that. One, I would not put it that way. Two, I would not put it that way. Two, though, I am a very big believer in being diagnosed by a doctor. And I think that, there are sites like National Alliance for Mental Illness, NAMI. There's like sites like Mental Health America. There are articles and stuff that say like, here are the symptoms of depression, like maybe you have it. And I think those things are good. I think it's good that those things exist. I definitely feel like what you should do is like, if you feel like that, at the end, it always goes, you should talk to your doctor. Like even Mental Health America, like they have screenings and like they have diagnostic screenings, which is not an actual like diagnosis. Like they're like, here's some screenings. And then at the end of the screening, when you take it, they go, if this seems like you, if you have like so many of these risk factors, like please talk to your doctor, right? Because this screening is not a freaking diagnosis. And right. The thing that's dangerous about diagnosing yourself is that you might be diagnosing yourself wrong. Like, and it's so like mental illness is super tricky because it's like I think bipolar is one that gets mixed up a lot with borderline personality disorder, like you can mix things and you can start like treating yourself like in the wrong way for these disorders. Like if you don't actually know, like you need a professional's help. Like it's like a doctor, right? Like I'm not gonna like look at like signs of like say, let's use coronavirus, like for example, right? Like say like I have all those symptoms, but it's just like that could also just be like a normal flu.
Right.
Like I know like obviously at this point, like I would go, like I would call and be like, hey, but like say like, you know, like I can't just like be like assume like everything and just be like, well, this is the end of the world. It's like, well, obviously this could also be like another thing. And to you with the symptoms, obviously this is super scary, right? If it's like you match up with everything, but you also have to realize you're not a doctor though. This is just a website. Like that's why you have to call. Like, and that's why when you call too, and they go like, if you know, if the symptoms don't get worse and stuff, like you should just stay home. Because it's like you might have it might be mild, or you might just have like the normal flu, because hey, it's flu season, it's cold season, it's allergy season. Like you have to have some sort, like there needs to be professional help, like so that you actually know how to help yourself. Again, I'm a really big believer in being like actually medically diagnosed, because I also feel like if you don't get medically diagnosed, like, you know, people do start using it. It's really hard because I don't want to say that, because, you know, like even if you're not diagnosed, like, definitely you might still have mental illness. There's a lot of people undiagnosed who have mental illnesses. Like that's a real thing. But I feel like it isn't the best choice to be like diagnose yourself and then just like go on with life without looking like for real help, and then just being like, oh, like, well, I'm just depressed, like, so yeah, so you know, I have depression, so like I'm just like not going to show up for anything, like, you know, like I have anxiety, so like I'm not going to do anything. And it's just like that sucks, and those are definitely like symptoms of those things, but it's just like you should get help. You are sick. And I know there's a lot of stigma, which is obviously why we're talking about it like live, because like we want to be like, no, dude, you should get help. Like it's totally okay. Like again, I do, like I have PTSD, I have anxiety, I have depression. Like those things suck. And I definitely understand being like, I didn't do anything literally until now. Like I just laid in my bed, like I'm not having a good day. Like today sucked for me. Like I want to do all these things, and then I was just like, I'm gonna lie down, and I guess I'm just gonna watch Kim's Convenience because I couldn't make myself sleep. And I was just like, oh god.
All that. It's just you know, back to, I guess, you know, going with that, but also going back to how men have generally, I mean, I remember like basically like laying in bed and it felt like the bed was spinning just because of the anxiety and then the stress that I was having. And it was just because, one, I was in school, I was trying to, you know, live up to whatever, you know, whatever model that was expected by whoever that person was. And it just sometimes I wish I had a way to just let it out back then, you know. And the one thing I say now, and one thing now too is, you know, with, especially if anybody's watching this that's you know, in the military, they've seen combat or they've been deployed in whatever shape or form, or maybe you haven't, you know, there's a lot of help that's out there. You know, trying to diagnose, you know, suicidal ideations, suicidal thoughts. I don't know if you've ever done it, but it's super hard, right? Because you're looking for clues, you're looking for markers. Oh, did the guy sell all his stuff? Well, then you're like, well, he sold his stuff, but he was kind of happy. Well, he kind of has money, but yet he's spending on different things. You know what I mean? It's like it's this complete back and forth. So I would plead with anybody, not just service members, but anybody, if you guys do have any inkling of any type of suicidal thoughts, call the suicide hotline. Just do it. Everything that you're going through is normal. We all go through it. You know, PTSD, it's normal. You see an accident, you can have PTSD.
Because that was traumatic. Like, if you see a dead person, I'm sorry, that's traumatic.
Yeah.
For anyone.
Yeah. Well, I've had it where the dead person's hand dropped and hit me in the leg. But it's perfectly normal. It's perfectly normal. It just being scared. It's just like, oh, I have a fear of heights. Why do I have a fear of heights? Because my mom dropped me when I was little. That's technically PTSD. A lot of our service members, when they come back from deployment, it's like you can't be around a lot of people, because guess what? Normally when you're around a lot of people, you can get blown up. So there's trauma, there's stress that comes along with that. So, when it comes to men too, and this really what's frustrating is because, again, we go back to the lack of the lack of openness, right? The lack of a will to seek help because they feel weak.
Yeah.
Right. But I always look at it this way. Men were always stereotypically hands-on, right? So we put together computers, we build cars, we build backyards. You get where I'm going with that?
Yeah.
But eventually certain things in your life that you build need an upgrade. Your computer needs an upgrade. You need to upgrade to the next MacBook Pro because you need to, edit better videos, upgrade cameras. Well, guess what? Once in a while, your brain, it needs a little upgrade too. So you just go and get an upgrade. It's perfectly fine. Just go get an upgrade. Go get it cleaned out. Once in a while we clean our Mac. Get rid of the viruses. You do it all the time. So if you can do it with some inanimate object, you could easily do it to yourself. Just think about it. Hey, listen, where'd you go? Oh, I went to go see this guy to download a new iOS. You know what I mean? Just clean up this virus. I mean, I just had a lot of spam, a lot of malware, little shit going on in there. Or if it's a car, yeah, well, I got a tune up. I got an oil change.
Yeah. That makes sense. I like that.
Make it simple, because if sometimes you got to play with your head too, just so that it doesn't seem so like, quote unquote, weak
or heavy.
Or to the guys, it's the weakness. You're not gonna say. Well, from my experience with mental health, it's because it's from service members, right? You're trained to fight. You're trained to kill. You're trained to, to protect the guy on your left, the guy on your right, and you can never be weak for them because you cannot be the weakest link.
Yeah.
Right. So when it comes to all that, and you have mental issues, you're not going to say anything because you're trained, you're programmed to not be the weakest link.
And I think that's super important to point out, that it's just like, it's a logical progression, right? Again, like what Rich said, like for you guys, it's like, if you're around a lot of people, that means you're probably going to get blown up. Like you can't be weak, like, because you feel like, yeah, you are responsible also for like the lives around you. So you can't be the weakest link. And that sort of like thinking will stay with you when you come home. Like that sort of thinking just like stays. Like it doesn't just, it's not like your brain is like a switch and it's like, oh, new thing, right? Like it's just like, these are, because it's behaviors too.
Yeah.
Like those thoughts are also ingrained with your behaviors. And so like, it's ingrained with like how you approach a situation, you see in a situation.
Yeah.
Like when you're in a place where it's traumatic, like whether it's like your service member or like say you had like an abusive household, you're always hyper vigilant because you're looking for danger.
Yeah.
Like, and that stays with you even if you leave the home. Like those things, like it's not just like, even though like say you leave an abusive like home, like you are technically free, but that like physically free, but that doesn't make your brain free. Like you're still going to have those ways of thinking and approaching because that's been ingrained into you for so long. Like that makes sense. Like mental illness isn't just this thing where it's just like you're defective. It's like, no, like your brain is thinking in this way that sometimes served you for a purpose, right? Because fear serves us because it helps us from dying. But then now it's like, because of whatever situation you're in, it's like now malfunctioning and it's like on hyperdrive.
Yeah. And yeah, it's thing is like you said sometimes you don't turn it on and off, but actually it kind of does, because you go through, let's say, 9 months out in combat, you're getting shot at every day. Anytime you're walking, you can get blown up at any time, and that's where that stress builds up, right? That stress builds up, and then that stress and anxiety builds up to a point where it starts to affect you like halfway through deployment or towards the end. But then you don't seek help, because you are technically, you don't want to be the weakest link. But then you fly home, and then you get home and you see your family, and it does like a switch, because you forget all about all that. It's a back burner because you're just glad to be home. And that's why normally, like, you always see like people's like, oh, he was okay when he got home, and then all of a sudden, like, couple weeks in, it was like now he was like a changed person, because at night now he's sitting up. I start noticing that he doesn't sleep. I start noticing blah 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 blah, like he's out, like, with his gun staring out the window. We can't go to the malls because it's this and this. But at first it's like, you're kind of like, your mind is so focused on like, oh, here's my family again, and then it just reverts back to what it normally starts to, like what it feel, what, not necessarily feeling, but like that those issues just starts creeping back in.
I will make that delineation. So it's like what you're saying is like, even though it might subconsciously like not be a switch, like to you consciously, like it's like, no, I've changed over, now it should be fine, because it's like that relief.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And that's
it's not necessarily like a relief. It's basically like it's like another emotion. The emotion kind of like masks it. Like, okay, you hop on the big plane, along with your friends. You're like, deployment's done, we're getting home. Then you get home, but you're kind of like, you feel kind of weird, because it doesn't, you're not feeling so overjoyed. You just kind of like a little numb to it. Then you see your family. Then you're really trying, like, oh yeah, hey, what's up, everybody, blah blah blah. And then so that's like that switch, right, where you're like kind of like, it's still kind of, I guess it's a dimmer. It's not really a switch. It's a dimmer. Yeah. It's a dimmer. So it's like you're kind of playing with it. All of a sudden, it's like it just never goes away, and it kind of goes up and down. And at that point, at that point, you're no longer in combat. If you guys are listening, you're no longer fighting a war. You're at home. Go get help. Yeah. It's perfectly fine to go get help. There's a lot of, there's been a lot of friends of friends and friends that have, I've had friends hang themselves.
Yeah.
From the trauma. I've had friends that just drank themselves to death. So it's not necessarily suicide. It's just, it's basically trying to numb themselves from those issues.
Yeah, it's like this is said about suicide sometimes, where it's just like they don't necessarily want to die, but they super don't want to feel this.
Yeah.
And then like, well, it's like, and then for people dealing with suicide, sometimes like that does feel like the only way out. Like, okay, well, like, yeah, like, and that's like a crappy place to be. And like, and it's like a quote unquote, like suicide is called like really extreme, like an extreme, you call it like, oh, like it's this extreme, but it's like not, it's like, like, yes, it is, but it's like, there's a progression to it. And it can be like, you can try to stop that progression by like, which Rich said, and is like, go get help, dude. Yeah. Because like, your brain is like messed up for a reason right now. And like, it's true that like more men end up, I think more women attempt suicide, but more men actually commit suicide.
Yes.
Like, yeah, men and mental illness, like, and it's really like messed up. Like even like now there's still like a lot of studies that show like, and I know we're saying get help and it's still true, but like, there's still like a lot of stigma like, against men, and it's true. And sometimes like, even if you go to the doctor, they're just like, they'll treat men and women differently.
Yeah.
They'll make it a little harder for men, because it'll be like you just
and men commit suicide like brutally, like for real. Like women, like, you know, take pills or slit their throat, I mean their wrists or whatever. Men with like shotguns and, you know, like it just
sorry, trigger warning, everyone. Sorry.
yeah, I'm sorry, but no, but well, you know,
But
it's weird.
it's
You know, it's weird because I guess I can share it. It's just, you know, when it comes to suicide prevention, you know how they always say when somebody says they want to kill themselves, you get them help, right? That's almost a trigger. Like, go get them help almost immediately. For me, I have to say it. Then I tell myself how stupid it sounds. It's weird. Like, there's a lot of times when I'll be like walking on the edge of a building or something, and I go, if I just jumped off this building right now, all my worries would disappear. Then I'd walk away and go, that's fucking stupid. That shit would hurt. I don't, you know, but that's how I cope with it. You know, I'm not saying it's the best for everybody, but like, like I go, man, if I had a gun, like, you know, in some of my stressful times, and I guess it's, I don't know if it's me or something, like in my stressful times, I go, man, I could just fucking get this gun right now and shoot myself in the head. And I go, then I'll tell myself, then after a few minutes, I'm like, but what if I didn't survive and have to live with a deformed face?
And so me being rich friends would be like, go get help.
Yeah.
You need to go get help.
No, but the thing is that I know for a fact 100% I could never do it, only because of my daughter. But I have to say it because, no, look, I don't want to make light of it, but that's the way I would cope with it. Like, to know that I think suicide is idiotic, right? So for me to voice it out and find a reason why I shouldn't, you know, it's like, that's how I deal with it. It's like, if I throw myself off this cliff and I survive and I'm a quadriplegic, I'd rather be alive dealing with whatever issues that I have than being in a wheelchair.
Yeah, I understand. This is why Rich is here, because I would never cope like that. But like, it's important. Like, I don't. So like with, you know, talking about mental health and stuff like that, obviously I have my really strong opinions and I have the way I talk, but it's also really important to be like, this is how other people also cope, because it's a real thing. And if we only put it like in one way and say like, oh, it's only okay to talk about mental illness like one way, then we're going to shut out a lot of people who are actually having problems. Because I'm sure there's a lot more people, as like maybe like probably men too, because like I'm not a man. Like I'm sure there, and maybe women, not maybe, there are people who are going to relate to you better, like in your way than my way. Mm-hmm. And like, that's okay. Like, that's okay. Like, it has to be okay, because like coping and like staying alive, like those things are hard. It's hard. Like, honestly, like, and I mean, I do have my dark humor. Like you have to have, you know, what you need to like survive. And I am very glad that you have your daughter. And like, the thing with suicide is like, it's really hard. And like, it is true though. Like, if you hear someone, you should definitely say it to them. If it's like, no, if they say something, you should be like, you should get help. Like, do you want to talk? And honestly, I feel like the best prevention for suicide is not letting it get there and making sure, like, you know, if you have friends who are going through a bad time, check on them. Don't assume things are okay. And I'm not saying like shove your face down their throat and just be like, you have to get help. Like, and like force them to do anything, because you cannot force people to do anything they don't want to do. If anything, they might push back and get farther and farther from getting help. But don't like be like, oh, they're fine. Don't like assume like people are fine, especially like and that's in my head. Like, I'm really sensitive to men's mental health because like I had a cousin who killed himself, like in his mid-20s. And I remember when I hit my mid-20s, I was just like, oh shit, like I just surpassed you. Yeah. And like, I know for me, like there was at one point where I just like, I didn't think I would make it past like 26, 24, 26. I was like, I'm not going to be here. It's going to be whatever. So, you know, like suicide, men and suicide, like it's a big thing to me personally. Like it sucks because it's like you guys aren't socialized like girls are. Like we have at least each other. Like we're like socialized to be like, yeah, tell your secrets to like your BFF.
Mm-hmm.
And like having that like is fucking amazing. Like being able to like, you know, like, yeah, like go to your girlfriend and just be like, da 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 da. And even like go to your boyfriend. Like there's a lot of like unevenness where it's just like, oh, like, you know, a girl can tell her boyfriend stuff and it's totally fine, but like the boyfriend doesn't feel the same way. Like he's like, no, I have to be strong for you. And it's just
Right.
like, wait, no.
Yeah.
Or
Like the most important thing is actually to be open about being able to talk about it. And that's the thing that, you know, that happened, I think, with when I talked to you about how we first met, is that I started listening to like a lot of this stuff I probably would never have talked about unless we met, right? It's like, this is like some stuff that I just keep within me because the minute I start talking about it and the minute I start talking about any type of struggles that I have, I will look weak and I would look like I don't want to be, you know, in the Philippine term kawawa, like pity, like of pity to somebody. I don't want anybody to pity me.
oh, that's such a big thing. A lot of people don't want that.
Right. And but that's the thing, is like the minute you start talking about it, that's why too, it's like when if somebody is expressing this up to you, don't be so quick to answer back. Because sometimes, you know, they just want to talk and just kind of nod your head. Okay. Well, is there anything I can do for you? Well, and then you can start the conversation. Because if you just start talking, sometimes you know, well, I don't want you to pity me. I just want to kind of like get this off my shoulders.
Yeah.
You know, and then, you know, and now, you know, like anybody that can come up, we can talk about it. I'm no longer just the expert in failed marriages. I could talk about men's mental health now too.
Yes, you can. You can. We are. That's why we're here, and I can't believe so much time has passed. We're gonna have to do like a part 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's men's mental health is really tough. Like I'm actually really glad that you're like, yeah, I'll talk about it, because I was like, he might say no, and then we're gonna talk about something else, which is totally fine. But like I wanted to talk about it with you specifically because I'm like, you say things differently than I do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and in the end, I think we actually believe pretty much the same thing. But it's also like for me to be like, listen to another person and how they say it and not judge.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, well, then again, like then we'll start gatekeeping each other with how we can talk about our own mental health. And it's just like, that's pretty fucked up. Like I need to be able to like hear what you're saying, know that you don't mean it. Like I have to be able to take away like my preconceived notions of the words that you're using and actually listen to what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really important. I think that's like an important lesson to like when, you know, like men to women and women to men, like we don't necessarily always use the same language. And right. Like it's important, like what Rich said, like don't automatically just say things right away, because that really might not be helpful. Like I feel like there have been guys who said this, like, yeah, like I don't like that, like when, or just like they start to say something and you just like want to hug them, and they're just like, no,
yeah, they're like, yeah, get the off of me.
Like I don't want it. Like, yeah, because it feels like pity to them, and you know it's not pity, but it's like we have to understand that too, because the thing is like, if someone tells you like how they want to be treated, you know, like if they're like no hug and stuff, and I know it's really hard to tell the difference, but the thing is like you have to make sure that you're actually responding to the person you're trying to help in that the way that they want to actually be treated, not how you want to treat them. Mm-hmm. Especially when they're being vulnerable and stuff. Like you want the person you're helping to feel empowered, not that like you're trying to fucking fix things for them, or that like you do feel sorry for them and it comes off just, you know, like, because it won't be helpful, and that's really hard, and that takes like skill and practice and stuff, but it's definitely something you need to be aware of, because it's not helpful. It's not helpful if someone just like starts telling you like about their problems and then you just start like trying to solve it right away, or again, like you just try to like cuddle and hug them like if they don't want it, you know what I mean, and just be like, oh no, and it's just like, that's
no.
The
worst.
No, like, yeah, when they start crying, Like, you know, when you tell your like people like your problems and they start crying and then you have to comfort them, it's the worst. It's the worst. And it's just like, I know you just feel bad because that was a lot, but this also sucks that now I have to comfort you. Do you know what I mean? Or change what you're saying because you're reading their face and you're like, they're freaking out. Okay, well, I'm going to make this more lighthearted now. And you're just like,
yeah. But you know, like, I don't want to, I know we're on a time crunch, like, but like for men, really try to talk to other men about the problems. Cause like as Trixie says, I word things a little differently, but sometimes I word it the same way I would do it if I was talking to a guy. Cause we do like, oh yeah, you don't fucking have mental problems. You're a lazy piece of shit. Like that's something two guys would be talking to each other about. You know what I mean? Quit using this fucking thing as a crutch and get up off your ass and quit being fucking lazy. Like that's something that I would say to my friend. And so, but I don't know any other way to say it, right? I don't know any other way to say it in a Trixie way.
Which would be like, I know you're having like a really hard time, but at some point you need to take responsibility for your own mental health and start making steps.
Right. That's wow. Okay, so that's yeah. We're definitely gonna have to like cut that and be like highlight, like snippet. That's how that's translated. You see that on our TikTok soon. Because
it's like the thing is like I know Rich. I know he doesn't mean it that way. And like honestly, like I can talk like you too. Like I do talk like you too sometimes, and that's definitely true. And like I know there's definitely some people who would like look at Rich and be like, or like hear his words, be like, oh my God, he's so toxic. Like that's so toxic. But it's just like you need to put this into context because also friends talk to each other in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I know Rich, so I know he's really trying to help. Is he going to say it this other way? Yes. But I also have to trust that, like with his friend, like he's going to say it in a way that makes sense for them. And I know that he would never say it that way to me. Because that would, I mean, I don't know how you would say it, but I don't think you'd say that to me.
No.
It's just like, that wouldn't work. Like you know your audience and you're like, that's not going to work. I'm just going to make her cry. That's not helpful.
Yeah, you might want to get off the couch and actually do something. What Eden's Bible study over here?
I was reading this post that it's easier to be blunt than to say what you need to say in a way where you're not going to damage the person you're talking to. What? I think I understand. I am the translator.
No, Adrian is right though, because sometimes when you kind of, instead of being blunt, you kind of like walk on eggshells, and you lose the point of what you're trying to say because you're trying to find so many words to be nice. Like, bro, get the up, like get in the shower or something, fix your life, fix yourself, as opposed to, well, I believe that maybe you should get up and like really practice hygiene. And, there's ways that you can just, ease on up out of bed. They put what? Now get up, just get up. Like drill instructor way, get up, like get in the shower. That wasn't what I was trying to say.
But okay. But still, I go with what Rich said. So we'll just wait for Adrian to clarify what he was saying. But I mean, like, there, you got to know the difference and you got to know like who you're talking to. Because there will be some people I know, like they need to hear it actually more in the way that Rich says things. And there's other people that I know that like they need it to be said in another kind of way. I definitely believe that like, what is like meandering around the point is never good. You know what I mean? Like there's a difference between like validating someone and then like trying to make like excuses for them.
Yeah.
Like I can say like, hey, like I know you're having a hard time. you still need to do X, Y, and Z versus like, I know like things are so hard, like, and I know like this happened and this happened and like that makes you super tired and like I'd be tired too. Like there's a difference like in the way you say it, because like the thing, it's like you can't make excuses for why they're doing something and then ask them to do the opposite. Like that's so weird. Like it's just like, dude, I acknowledge what you're saying. I can acknowledge it's hard. Like if you want my advice, you know, like say they did ask for my advice, then like here.
But I definitely talk to a guy a lot more harsher, because you know why? We're the king of the jungles.
Oh my God, shut up.
We're the head of the household. We are the tiger kings, my friends.
I'm going to translate into that, you know, when you talk to a certain person who has been socialized to be a certain way, it's not necessarily the most effective to talk to them out of their own lexicon and vocabulary. You have to say it into their language.
Yeah. But all in all, men, if you have problems, go, you know, talk to somebody. I mean, it really is just talk to somebody. That anxiety and that trust me, it eats away at you, and it passed down to your kids, and your kids think that their house is toxic, but actually it's because you have anxiety because of what they're doing, and that translates to their anxiety, that which gets onto their kids' anxiety, and next thing you know, you have a house full of now next thing you know, you have a house full of quote unquote toxic individuals, just because you guys can't verbally say, hey, I have problems and anxiety because of whatever, stress. So just go get help. There's millions of people available wherever you are in this world. You could be in Podunk, Idaho.
Hotlines, dude.
Yeah, hotlines. And if you have any problems, DM me. Ladies, if you have any problems, definitely DM me at Akosi Rich on Instagram. And I love y'all.
That was the weirdest like sign off. Like why'd you gotta make it feel that way?
that's part of my cringiest post.
Okay, well, I'm just gonna do this then. I'm just kidding. Seriously though, Rich, thank you for being here. We definitely need a part 2 because I have so many questions and follow through. But yes, thanks for being here. Thank you for being honest. Like there is a little part of me that's like, is he gonna like super change? How I don't think he will, but I'm like, I don't know if he's gonna like censor himself.
No,
like how's this gonna go? But like I really do appreciate the honesty, and I think it makes for like good conversation and for understanding. And like I really loved having someone like, again, like who like approaches things different from me, so it's not just like the same freaking thing over and over, because that's not helpful. So yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you for talking. I'll definitely have you on again. You don't have a choice. There are certain people who don't have choices from me, which is like Rich, Marissa, and Adrian. But anyways, thanks for being on the channel. Do you want to like say your YouTube channel?
No, it's right there down below. You guys can follow. You guys can. And I did censor myself because I would have been a lot fun. I would try to be a lot more funnier, but this is a serious topic, so I had to rein that in until the very, very end.
Until he had to make it creepy, so it felt right for him.
Yeah, I just had to end it like that.
Okay, well then I appreciate that, I guess.
But thank you for having me as well. It's always good to talk.
Yes, it is always good to talk. So yeah, I will be back on Monday with Alyssa Junius. She's here.
Ooh.
And we're going to be talking. I also had a YouTube video that came out today. So go to my channel and check that out. And that's floating there. Until I see you guys next time, make sure like you keep washing your hands.
That's how you're going to end it? You're talking to me, cringy? You want your... Oh.
What? People need to wash their hands. Wear a mask thing. Yeah. All right, y'all. Okay, no, seriously though. Well, no, I'm still serious about that too. Next time, until I see you next time, make sure you're creating happiness in your own life, whether that means that you're going to go watch a bunch of Rich's videos and find his cringy videos, about what is it like a bridal shower?
Yeah, don't watch that video. Don't watch
Find
the
his bridal shower videos because apparently they're really part two. Apparently is really cringy.
Yeah.
Or you're gonna you're just gonna like order takeout and have dinner and be happy.
Yeah.
Either
And
way,
my podcast tonight at 8. So stick
oh,
around.
yeah. And Rich goes on every day, right?
Yeah, every day.
Every day at 8. So make sure you catch that. Okay, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Peace out.